Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Of course, we saw the Workers' Convention today, Mariam Nawaz's address, along with Rana Sanaullah and other PMLN leaders. Of course, according to the PMLN, they maintain that the PMLN is ready for the elections at all times. She also said that as far as there was a lot of criticism against the former Prime Minister as far as his own activities are concerned, his own criticism of institutions is concerned, the way that he's being treated at this time as far as institutions are concerned. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about, of course, the gearing up we see as far as the PMLN is concerned, the activities, and the fact that this seems to be, as far as the PMLN is concerned, very much getting into the election mode. As far as the election itself is concerned, certainly at this time, as far as the Election Commission is concerned, the overall preparedness is an issue. We'll be talking about that also, the legality of it and the practicality both. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Saif Jamshed Bariar, who is a senior analyst. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have with us Siddiqul Farooq from the PMLN. Thank you for being with us. And a little later on, we'll have someone from PTI also. Saif Sab, like I said, Mariam Nawaz said today that as far as her party is concerned, they're prepared for elections at any time. And this is an issue with the Election Commission and overall preparedness. As far as the economy is concerned, of course, she said that, things are where they are because of the way they were left as far as the PTI is concerned, and they're only setting things right. As far as this whole election issue is concerned, of course, what the legality of it is and what will happen is one, on the other hand, of course, the preparedness. As far as the PTI is concerned, there's certainly that jail Bharo Tehreek, which the PTI is talking about, the former Prime Minister. But do you think that they're in the field? Do you think that there is, as far as the PMLN is concerned, since Mariam Nawaz returned, we are seeing her very much out in the field, talking to her, reorganizing, talking to her workers, rallying, mixing with her people. That doesn't seem to be the case with other parties.
Maru, currently I think that we are observing this tide of political capital all over the country. And in fact, in the past 2 or 3 weeks, we've observed one thing more than anything else, that the legality of the matter at one particular side, but the political momentum that currently PMLN is trying to mount onto, specifically after Mariam Sahiba's return, is something that has in fact initiated the first political gear at this particular moment for PMLN as well. But the fact over here is that when we talk about the elections to be actually happening, this lies under the mandate of the Article 222 of the Constitution. Now, the very first thing is that if the legal tenure expires before term, then ultimately you necessarily need to be having elections after a particular moment of time. But the issue over here is that currently it seems like a political deadlock. And as far as I look upon to it, it is sounding like a legal deadlock as well. Because given that what Lahore High Court gave as a verdict in the 16-pager, in fact, it was initiated as an intra-court appeal by the Election Commission of Pakistan as well. So,
but it's also one of those issues where we see the legal fraternity itself divided. The legal, the legality of it, the legal opinion, there seems to be a division there also. I want to come back and talk more about that, but I'm going to go to Siddiqul Farooq Sahab. Siddiqul Farooq Sahab, can you hear me? Siddiqul Farooq Sahab, today also, today also we saw Mariam Nawaz speaking, and she said that your party is ready for the elections, the PMLN is ready for the elections. And on the other side, there is this, jail Bharo Tehreek, which, is supposed to start on Wednesday. How do you look at the political scenario? And on the other hand, of course, the matter being in court is concerned. What kind of a few weeks do you expect? What kind of a result do you expect overall?
This is the time when national consensus is required. But as opposition leader, then selected Prime Minister, and once again as opposition leader, Imran Khan's role is very negative about the state of Pakistan, about his opponents. He doesn't believe in law, in constitution, and in any morality. He has his own plans, and those plans have damaged Pakistan on all fronts.
Sadiqul Farooq Sahab, even today, Mariam Nawaz said that, he is himself not visible. He is not there himself. He's not in the field himself. He hasn't presented himself in court. How do what kind of a jail Bharo Tehreek, I mean, I know that, this is a question largely for the PTI, but in your political experience, what kind of a jail Bharo Tehreek are you looking at?
We have observed and experienced
Hmm.
126 days dharna, and everyone knows
Hmm.
that after few days, a time came when only few hundred people were gathered there and they listened to Imran Khan.
Hmm.
And all the channels were directed not to show the public,
Hmm.
rather to show Mr. Khan.
Hmm.
Then we observed 25th of April,
Hmm.
long march. Then
Hmm.
we also observed 26th of November.
Hmm.
So Imran Khan makes tall claims, but practically he has failed to uh, bring people on roads. Similarly, I am confident that jail Bharo Tehreek or court arrest movement will also fail
But
because
Sadiqul
Imran,
Farooq sir, what does it entail in your opinion? I mean, is it about presenting yourself? Will he have his people come out and present themselves to be put in jail, or how will it work? And he will not come out. He will stay inside Zaman Park. How will it work?
basically, I was student leader in 1976 and 77,
Hmm.
President Students Union, Government Postgraduate College of Sonar Rawalpindi,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
chairman of all unions, students' unions of District Rawalpindi.
Hmm.
So at that time, PNA started jail Bharo Tehreek.
Hmm.
So in every city,
Hmm.
6 people were giving court arrests. That was a successful movement. Now
Hmm.
let us see, because the slogan is the same, jail Bharo Tehreek, and let
Hmm.
us see Imran Khan uh, gets success in that or not. But I am confident, due to my political experience,
Hmm.
that Imran Khan will badly fail in this effort and in this program, because people do not support a leader who himself takes U-turn on the same day, in the same speech, or after every second day.
Okay, Sadiqul
You,
Farooq sahab, let me come back to you. On that note, we have with us Barrister Safiullah Ghori. I want to ask him his legal opinion and then move on. Ji, Safiullah, can you hear me?
Ji, I can, Maro.
Ji, Safiullah, the legality of this, now this issue at this time between the Election Commission, the governor, it seems to be a standoff in a sense that, the Election Commission saying that it is up to the governor to give a date, and the governor saying that since he has not dissolved, it doesn't have to come from him. Of course, we've had the verdict from the Lahore High Court. Intra-court appeal is is pending, as I understand. How do you look at this overall?
Right, Maruk. So, just starting from the beginning, I find it to be quite absurd the fact that former Prime Minister Imran Khan, despite having been the Prime Minister, does not understand the powers of the Prime Minister. When he wrote a letter to the President asking the President to intervene, he knew that he was doing something that is patently illegal, because under the Constitution of Pakistan, Article 48, the President is only a titular role, and the President is bound to act on the advice of the Prime Minister. He cannot surpass the Prime Minister, cannot in any manner do something that takes away the power of the Parliament, and various other powers that he has been granted are all in consonance of this very fact that he is a representative of the Parliament to be acting on the advice of the Prime Minister. Now, the fact that the President overstepped his powers by first writing to the Chief Election Commissioner, which is almost unprecedented in Pakistan, unless and until it was military dictators who were deciding what they wanted to do with elections. The fact that the President of Pakistan himself wrote to the Election Commission asking him to hold elections, and thereafter has been almost arguing with him, wondering whether this should happen or not, is downright bizarre. Now, the Election Commission, in their response,
In your opinion, there's no legality of this?
there is absolutely no legality. He does not have the authority to do so. That's precisely what my point is. The Election Commission, in their response, also reminded the President of Pakistan that he is speaking without any authority on this matter. And if he were to be concerned about the elections, then he needs to approach the right forum, in which case it is going back to the Prime Minister and asking the Prime Minister what is to be done about this, and also informing him that it is the governors who are now responsible for this decision. So, as far as the constitutional framework of Pakistan is concerned, it is very clear right now that the President has overstepped his bounds, and this is going to lead nowhere for him. Could even be grounds for possible impeachment if the government so deems appropriate.
Okay, let me go to Dr. Zarka. We have Dr. Zarka Taimur from the PTI with us. I'd like to ask her this before I go back in studio with Saif Saab. Dr. Zarka, can you hear me?
I can.
Dr. Zarka, this recent development where we've had the President of Pakistan write to the Election Commission, how does your party look at this? Because isn't this him clearly aligning himself with one particular political party?
Thank you very much, Bharo. I think the issue here is the Constitution of Pakistan, the 1973 Constitution, that says that once the assemblies are dissolved, you need to give the date for the elections within 90 days. And if the government or the institutions are not following that tenet of the Constitution without any, that they are answerable. And all of these institutions can be taken to a court of law, and they can be charged under Article 6. President Musharraf was his biggest crime was that he was charged with similar cases, and you have seen how difficult it was for him to come back to Pakistan. So these are serious issues that the government, who is right now at the helm of affairs, and the Chief Election Commissioner, the governors of the two provinces.
Right, Dr. Zarka, when we talk about constitutional, you've mentioned the constitutional role, but also the President of Pakistan also is bound by the Constitution and his own constitutional role. I think there's a problem with audio. I will come back to you. Let me go to Saif Saab. Saif Saab, when you talk about the President of Pakistan, he's also mandated by what's important as far as the Constitution of Pakistan is concerned, and the Constitution of Pakistan has a constitutional role. And with due respect, I mean, when other institutions are themselves mandated to act within that role, so is the President of Pakistan. Isn't that true?
Absolutely, Maruk. In fact, what the President Saab did recently, in fact, that itself can give margin for another constitutional crisis. The issue at hand is that in the past we have had certain precedents as well, where the elections were actually delayed. I'll take you back into 1988. I'll take you back into 2002. I'll take you back into 2008 as well.
Okay.
If we talk about 88, the elections were delayed by 81 days. And if we talk about 2002, the election was delayed by a single day. And if I talk about 2008, Bibi Shahid's death, in fact, the elections were delayed by a record of 95 days. Now there's a little issue. When we actually interpret Article 224(3), the debate of legality over here divides the legal opinion in the legal fraternity as well.
Okay.
It is not up to the President to be asking the Election Commission for the date. Neither is the Election Commission of the Pakistan completely empowered to give a particular date. This particular scenario is about a provincial assembly. It's not about a national assembly. The provincial assembly's procedure is that the governor is the suitable authority with consultation establishes a legal framework for elections to happen, and after that happening, it is Election Commission's role to decide that A, free elections can take place, B, can it be done so on time, and C, can it be done with necessary resources. Now, contending on the first point, the idea of free elections at the moment, given how PTI has levelled allegations against the Chief Election Commissioner,
Yes.
and how they've levelled severe allegations, and they've sort of provided a margin for futuristic debate on the entire issue. You cannot even step into the elections mode, let alone talk about financial resources. The idea of the very essence of 224(3) is violated over here, because the Election Commission is trying to give in evidence to the court of law at the moment that can it even conduct free and fair elections, and are there necessary resources available, and can it be done within the prescribed time, given the financial crisis that is leveled up on the country at the moment.
When it happened, when BB, the elections were delayed because of, the unfortunate death of BB Shaheed Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto, there's a, like you said, that's a precedent for delay, whatever the cause. I want to go to Safiullah Ghauri with this, the legality of this, and I'll come back to you. Ji, Safiullah, can you hear me?
Ji, I can, Maro.
Safiullah, there is, the elections when they were delayed in 2008, Saif Saab has mentioned, there's a precedent for it. They were done so with agreement. So there doesn't seem to be, when the parties agreed, if I'm not wrong, and then they were pursuant to that, the elections were delayed. If that kind of an agreement were to ensue, it would of course make things considerably easier, because there would be an accord, there would be, but in the absence of that, we're looking at a long battle, right?
Absolutely, Maro. So here's what the problem is. And what we're seeing is everyone behaving outside of the constitution. So it's very clear that the constitution mandates a 90-day election. But I was just hearing Dr. Zarka talk about how somehow the president has decided that it is his role to enforce the constitution and not that of the courts, even though the matter is pending in the courts. So we are obviously seeing everyone overstep the kind of legal boundaries that they have and conduct ultra-virus acts. Now, as far as the elections themselves are concerned, obviously the constitution itself envisions that elections would take place in 90 days. But the constitution also, for instance, envisioned that the fundamental rights granted within the constitution would be enforceable within 90 days. And that has unfortunately still not happened. To date, they are unjustifiable within the courts because of various problems. We have seen that the constitution does place different limits, but those limits, because of Pakistan's unfortunate circumstances, have been violated time and again. Now, the present scenario is one where I, as a lawyer, am particularly concerned. I obviously want elections to be conducted in a democratic manner, but I don't want them to be conducted at a time when there are bombings going on within the country. If, God forbid, any election and any poll was taking place and a bomb were to go off over that, and there would be easy targets, because people would be gathering in for jalsas, for rallies, for electioneering. I feel like at a time when there is a general security fear, at a time when we obviously don't have the money either, and I'll also echo what Saif Saab said just a little while ago. The Election Commission does not want to withhold elections. The Election Commission has sent the government a demand of rupees 9 billion for the by-elections in the National Assembly. They haven't gotten the money. So, and the National Assembly can very easily defend that by stating that they do not have the money to give them. Where the State Bank has to release the money, where's the money going to come from? And all of these aspects need to be somehow explained to the Supreme Court, so that the Supreme Court can sign off on it and state that yes, it is correct that statistically Pakistan does not have the money to conduct elections, and therefore it is an impossibility to conduct elections. It is not that somebody wants to violate the law.
Just for the sake of, for the sake of argument, won't this be a dangerous precedent?
I think this is where the courts can play a very crucial role by defining what metrics need to be fulfilled in order to conduct elections. So I've discussed this previously on your show as well. There are two key points that I believe, two key grounds that the courts should define. Number one, in order to conduct elections, the participation of the armed forces is absolutely imperative, And so if the government writes to the armed forces asking them to provide security, and if the armed forces refuse, stating that there is some security instance, then that should be one exception. And the second instance is that when the government writes to the state bank and says release such and such amount of money so that elections can be conducted, and the state bank refuses, stating that we do not have the money in our kitty.
Right.
These
Okay.
two
Fair
are
enough.
very easily understandable grounds. Unfortunately, both of these grounds exist at the moment. And since they exist at the moment, there is very valid reasons not to conduct elections. But of course, I am no one to say this. The only person who can say this is the Chief Justice of Pakistan, who, if a case were to come to him, would be able to sign off on it.
Ideally, of course, one would expect, again, I keep on talking about the kind of accord that perhaps is the need of the hour, the need of the, as far as the need of the day, as far as the political parties are concerned. But of course, that has been missing. And I will thank you for your opinion, Bas Sab. I want
Thank
to
you.
go to Sadiqul Farooq Sab. Ji, Sadiqul Farooq Sab, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sadiqul Farooq Sab, there is a lot of criticism from your party also, as far as institutions are concerned. There is criticism now from there has been, traditionally speaking, we've seen as far as the PTI is concerned. There's no doubt about that. The Election Commission, again, like Safiullah Ghori Sab also said, and Saif Sab here in the studio is also saying, there is they've leveled his kind of allegations against the Election Commission that itself renders the process as a whole, it makes it problematic. Do you agree? Because we saw what happened in the Karachi elections also, as far as their reaction to that. So whenever there is a problem as far as the opposition unfortunately not doing as well as they could be, they imagine themselves they should have done, it's invariably the institutions that come under fire.
Kindly give me a couple of minutes.
Ji.
But first of all, I'll clear about charging someone under Article 6.
Okay.
As my sister, Dr. Zarka, referred to,
Ji.
Article 6 says high treason. Any person who abrogates or subverts or suspends or holds in abeyance or attempts or conspires to abrogate or subvert or suspend or hold in abeyance the Constitution by use of force or show of force or by any other constitutional means shall be guilty of high treason. Second, any person aiding or abetting or collaborating the acts mentioned in clause 1, I have already read, shall likewise be guilty of high treason. This is Article 6. But I don't know, this has become fashion to say someone, Mr. Siddiqul Farooq, will be charged under Article 6 if he doesn't say this or if he doesn't do this. This is a fashion. Please don't do this. Secondly, you have referred to criticism. Criticism should be realistic. When the Election Commission has to hold free, fair, and independent elections, he needs an atmosphere. He needs a machinery. He needs funds for them. There is a judgment of the court. Census is, I think, being conducted. So how Election Commission can hold free and fair and independent election when there is also a wave of terrorism and our army and other agencies all are in the field to cope with this hilarious situation. As you know, Army has refused to provide. The Election Commission needs hundreds of thousands of people to ensure holding of free and fair election. When police force engage, when district administration is also engaged, when judiciary cannot provide ROs, how can ECP hold free and fair elections as demanded by Imran Khan. So I think first of all is state, sovereignty of state, and then elections.
Okay,
Election
Siddiqul
must
Farooq
be
Sahab, on that note, let me come back to you. Saif Sahab, what Siddiqul Farooq Sahab is saying, I don't think there can be two opinions on the fact that, of course, as far as the Article 6 is concerned, certainly he's given a very balanced, opinion on that, and certainly leveling allegations on the basis of Article 6 is a dangerous precedent which everyone should avoid. But other than that, of course, as far as this allegation is concerned, as far as the armed forces saying that they can't provide the necessary assistance that is needed, elections overall at this time, we are seeing a PDM at this time, the PMLN also has come out and said categorically, even Mariam Nawaz said today that things are difficult, as far as the government is concerned. That's not a secret. There's a security problem in addition to the economic problem. So the country is battling on different grounds at this time. We're dealing with different issues on different fronts at this time. What do you think what do you think the PTI chief or the former Prime Minister imagines? Certainly, he thinks that his party will do well. That's why there's this agitation for the elections. But do you think it's going to be, I just want to understand, is it going to be a walk in the park for them? Are they not going to be able to, do they not perceive the kind of challenges that, at this time the country is dealing with?
Maruf, I'll be very honest over here. A country where 100 people can get killed in a single day when it comes to prayer and worship, nothing is as simple and easy as a walk in the park. We've gone beyond those limits of walking into parks right now. It's only about gaining that political momentum without having any affiliation with any political school of thought. I think political parties need to understand the essence of the most important book of this country, that is the Constitution of 73. Yes. The Constitution that binds people from Gwadar to Gilgit, and the Constitution that binds people from the eastern horizons to the western horizons of this country. If I literally interpret Article 105 for you, it says that framers of the Constitution have chosen the word appoint and not announce. So the Election Commission of Pakistan has the ability to appoint on recommendation the elections date. It cannot announce the elections date to begin with. The second idea over here is that whenever, in terms of Article 140 that talks about ministerial appointments, in terms of the Article 155 that talks about the establishment of commissions, in terms of the Article 160 that talks about NFC, in terms of the Article 168 that talks about the appointment of the Auditor General, even in terms of Article 175 that talks about appointments of the highest levels of judiciary in this country, it is always based on the model of appointments and not announcements. Okay. So there is a consultation process. Now, given the fact that when it has been clearly very much mentioned that a 90-day time frame is something upon to which the elections can happen, so we've not even reached that point as of yet. If you talk about the dissolution of the assemblies, whether you talk about the Pakhtunkhwa Assembly or you talk about the Punjab Assembly, I think certain things are better left for the legal interpreters to establish, where the political parties are clearly forgetting right now. Today on political narratives and today in political jalsas, I simply see political momentum hyping up in slogans. Okay. I do not see the legal wings of political parties anywhere on TV channels. I do not see the legal wings of political party anywhere near the Senate of the country, the upper house or the lower house, the parliament. So but
we have like people like Ataullah Tarid who are lawyers when we talk about particular parties as far as the PMLN is concerned, coming out and saying that this is the legality of it, or this is how they perceive the legality. But of course the ultimate question rests with what's going to happen as far as the court is concerned.
The ultimate question, Maruk, it rests with what is the reciprocation of Ataullah Tarid Saab's idea of restricting ourselves to the legal framework for once and forgetting about political capital. There has been no reciprocation. So I think it calls for high time where the legal wings of the people in power, the political parties, they sit, because political momentum is something that is best left off on the elections day. Before that, I think in order to avoid a constitutional crisis emerging, and this is the I'd say this is the very incorrect time for another constitutional crisis to emerge, given that we've got $3 billion US in our reserves, less of 3 weeks of imports. The IMF talking about eliminating subsidies in order to get another bailout.
But
So
we
I think
don't. But we don't see. That's what I want to come to. But we don't see that kind of, reality check or that kind of perception as far as other political leaders are concerned. Of course, this time the government is saying again and again, look, these are the realities. This is what we're dealing with. We're grappling with so much. But on the other hand, there is a jail Bharo Tehreek, which is supposed to happen on Wednesday. So it doesn't look like the opposition is seeing us on the verge of, one has to say things are really bad, whether we are on the verge of default or not. The point is we're very close. And there's really no denying things as far as the economic situation overall is concerned. But let me just come back to you. I'm going to go to Siddiqul Farooq Saab and then I will come back to you. Ji, Siddiqul Farooq Saab, can you hear me?
Yes, Mark.
Siddiqul Farooq Saab, as far as the PMLN is concerned, you are saying that your party has said that officially they're ready for elections. Your reorganization also, as far as Mia Saab's return is concerned, do you expect that to happen before the elections happen? Of course, we don't know when that date will be, but certainly the general elections are not very far off also.
Of course. Mir Nawaz Sharif will inshallah be in Pakistan before general elections. We are prepared. Our workers have been charged. Maryam Nawaz has infused a new spirit in workers and supporters and voters of the PMLN. So we are neither afraid of elections, nor we give any importance to jail Bharo Tehreek. What the problem confronting the nation and the state is the worst economy and terrorism. These two fundamental and serious problems have to be resolved before general elections are held. If we are capable of coping with both the problems in a couple of months, elections are well. But if, God forbid, we are not in a position to cope with these problems, God forbid, we are declared insolvent or we are unable to crush the terrorists, then I think the state, its security is first and then elections.
Okay. I don't know if we have Dr. Zarqa with us or not. Dr. Zarqa, can you hear me? I don't think so. Ji, Saif Saab, overall, as far as the situation at this time is concerned, we've talked in some detail as this new issue as far as the president is concerned. Do you think it's going to, it's going to lead to more, institutions again? Of course, as far as the office of President of Pakistan is concerned, it's certainly not a small deal when there is a clear, when this kind of a letter surfaces. What do you think is the purpose? Is it a pressure tactic? How do you see it? From the PTI, one has to say, overall, or what is behind this in your opinion? Because, as far as there are other times, as far as the PMLN is concerned, they've said, I think, if I'm not wrong, Maryam Nawaz said today that there are, or one of the PMLN leaders said that there are a few other occasions also where the President of Pakistan has clearly aligned himself with, and he is supposed to be apolitical largely.
Maruk, in fact, the very constitutional role of the President of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan is as a mediator between all political parties that are within the spectrum. Now, I was pretty much shocked when I learnt about the fact that the President's office is pushing the very independent election commission of the country to be calling out for a date of elections when the consultation process actually has not even happened, number one. And number two, in fact, if I once again talk about the most important book that holds the foundation of the parliament of this country, the very voice of 230 million people, I'll talk about Article 235. The Article 235 of the Constitution of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan in fact gives provision for a presidential financial emergency to be established so elections cannot take place and resources for the elections can be diverted into the economy. In fact, I was expecting Article 235 to be brought into essence. And I was expecting Article 235 to give us that breathing space. Because ultimately we need to see that international financiers like the International Monetary Fund, they are breathing down our neck at the moment. And elections in this financial crisis, in this security crisis, like I said before as well, are the last thing that we can aim for.
Right. Let me go to Senator Dr. Zarka. Ji, Senator Zarka, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Bharo.
Ji, Senator Zarka, when you talk, when this jail Bharo Tehreek, which is supposed to start on Wednesday, if I'm not wrong, what does it entail as far as the PTI is concerned? Is it going to be, is the former Prime Minister himself also going to be a part of it, or it's going to be his workers and then later his other political leaders and then later he will join? Is there like a, is there a plan in motion? What does the PTI expect? I mean, what can we expect from the PTI as far as this jail Bharo Tehreek is concerned?
Thank you. The issue has been from the day that the current regime was brought in, there have been a lot of cases, false cases, anti-terrorism cases, banking fraud cases. The Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan himself has almost 60 different, false cases and fabricated cases, which have been FIRs that have been registered on him and on other party leaders who've been dealing with them for the last 10 months. So it has become a farce and it is a joke. The international media is writing about it. BBC is talking about it, that this current government is putting people behind bars, putting in first information reports which are totally fabricated. So it became such a joke that the Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan said that if they want to put us behind bars, then let's all go and fill their jail. So that is the idea. If there is such a keen interest in making fabricated cases and putting politicians and other activists behind bars, then okay, you're welcome, and we are ready to, put
so
ourselves
he will
forward.
join
And
it.
the
He will be a part of
course,
this.
Everyone will join it. I have given in as a senator. I gave in my video message about 10 days ago saying that I'm offering myself as the first senator to go in, and Imran Khan Sahab himself. So you see, it is across the board. Is that why is this government unable to, Prime Minister Imran, his two governments that we had in Punjab and KP, they have resigned. We are not there in the National Assembly. The current government came in to say that we are going to fix Pakistan's economy. Instead of fixing it, they have made it so bad that right now we are in a state of default.
Okay,
They continue to be there. So what is stopping them? They are in government. They should deliver. Why are they so obsessed with a party that is not in government? We don't have, they're not. So it seems to be such an obsession with ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf.
Senator Zarka, let me come back to you. I think Siddiqul Farooq Saab wants to answer. I'll go to Siddiqul Farooq Saab, but I also want to say that as far as the PTI government is concerned, I don't think I'm wrong in saying that as far as the PMLN leadership is concerned. Siddiqul Farooq Saab, am I wrong in saying that your leaders, starting from Mariam Nawaz, starting from Shehbaz Sharif Saab, starting from, your first tier leadership, your second tier leadership, your third tier leadership, there've been, Siddiqul Farooq Saab, I think there's a problem with audio.
People's Party and other opponents were in jail. Not a single case has been fabricated against Imran Khan and his party members. Only 8 persons were booked and not a single person is in jail now. Imran Khan has confessed his crimes about Tosha Khana, about foreign funding, about using helicopter, about Arif Naqvi's whitening money, etc., etc. And if he has been booked, he confesses all these allegations are crimes. And I think law must take its course. And if law takes its course, it doesn't mean that a case has been fabricated against Imran Khan.
As far as these, do you think it's a pressure tactic, Sadiqul Farooq Sahab, along with other pressure tactics? I mean, as far as the PTI is concerned, there is, this jail Bharo Tehreek is the latest in that spate of, of course, we've also had a letter that's come as far as, from the President of Pakistan. There is now this jail Bharo Tehreek. There was earlier on the march. It started from the march, right? And then, from there on, it has built up these and then, of course, and not to forget the resignations that followed. So it was the march, and then it was the resignations of the assemblies, and then now it is the jail Bharo Tehreek. So it seems to be, this constant new strategies to pressurize. Is it the legal process? Is it the law, in your opinion, or is it the political process? It seems to be an amalgamation. Am I right?
Pressure tactics. President has no independent role. He has to act upon the advice of Prime Minister. Yes, he can hold any piece of legislation or any suggestion sent by the Prime Minister at the most for 15 days. That's all. He doesn't have any other power. He has to act strictly according to the advice of the Prime Minister. Secondly, Bharo Tehreek, jail Bharo Tehreek, he has changed its dates 3 times. And now, since he has been summoned by the Lahore High Court, he once again has announced. But as I have already stated, and I am confident that this pressure tactic is going to fail badly.
Right, fair enough. I unfortunately have very little time. I want to go to Saif Jamshed Sabji. Saif Sab, there is, in your opinion, as far as these tactics are concerned, it's not new. Like I said, it started from the march and then, the dissolution, all of these things. Do you think it'll end at where will this end? I mean, it started, no, I don't think it started from the march. I think it started from the American conspiracy.
Yeah.
So it's been, since the vote of no confidence, there has been a new strategy afoot.
In fact, Maruk, if we talk about the political history of the country, there have been many times we've seen Mulk Bachao Tehreek, Jail Bharo Tehreeks, and we've seen Qarz Utaro Tehreeks, and we've seen what and what not in the political history of the country. But does it help democracy? Does it help your vote or my vote? Does it maintain the sanctity of the very votes that we have? Now, if my vote is so unfortunate that after every 3 years, I'm looking at what the future of my vote is, and my vote is ultimately debated upon in a court of law, that whether I will be able to plug in my vote at the right time or not, that destroys the very essence of democracy. What is democracy? Democracy is number 1, fair play. Democracy number 2 is taking the right decisions on the right time. You tell me now, is the jail Bharo Tehreek going to help the economy? You tell me now, is any other Tehreek that is being undercarried right now, will it reduce terrorism in the country? This is not fair play. This is not taking the right decision at the right time. And will jail Bharo Tehreek maybe give us another bailout package? Will it structurally adjust the macroeconomic variables of the country? Unfortunately, it won't. So today, if I talk about the idea of political momentum and capital, I think rather than political momentum and capital, the need of the hour is national momentum and capital.
On that note, thank you so much for being with us, Saif Jamshed Bariar Saab. Thank you for joining us. Sadiqul Farooq Saab, thank you for being with us. Senator Dr. Zarqa Taimur, thank you for joining us today. As far as the overall scenario at this time is concerned, certainly when we talk about critique of the government, or if the opposition is so confident that the performance of they're dissatisfied with the performance of the government at this time, again the question is jail Bharo Tehreek going to be the answer to or is it going to be the solution for this country? Is it again going to be a solution for the economic crisis? Is it going to be the solution for the severe lack of funds? Is it going to be the solution for the security situation in the country? Is it going to provide a platform to debate a solution for those issues that the country is dealing with? I guess those questions are perhaps something to think of. Or is it going to be a pressure tactic to avoid a legal process? Or is it going to be a pressure tactic to try to ensure that elections are held at the time that the opposition wants? Ignoring the practicality of it, all of those questions are perhaps something that are worth considering, not only for the political parties, but also for the voter who's going to vote for those political parties. Thank you so much for joining us today.